Year 2145. Humanity had expanded into the depths of space, continuing exploration and colonization efforts, forging new alliances, and facing new threats. But this time, the threat they encountered was the most insidious and deadly attack in their history. Humanity's rise and strength on the galactic stage had caught the attention of the Zargonians. For centuries, this ruthless and strategically intelligent race had held dominion over the galaxy, and they saw the rapid rise of a new competitor as a major threat. Humanity's scientific and technological advancements had reached the Zargonians and disrupted their strategic balance. Not only were the humans' military might a concern, but also their diplomatic skills and ability to gain allies were troubling the Zargonians. The Zargonian leaders decided to devise a more insidious and cunning plan rather than directly engaging in war. Admiral Zarnak was the mastermind behind this plan. Under his leadership, Zargonian scientists developed a deadly virus targeting the human body, designed to spread rapidly. This virus was one of the most advanced biological weapons in Zargonian technology. It was not only lethal, but also programmed to completely collapse the human immune system. In the lightless void of space, a Zargonian spacecraft glided silently. Inside, the vast strategy room was filled with an immersive silence. On the advanced, technologically sophisticated tables, complex holograms and data were displayed. In the center of the room, a large holographic projection device cast a detailed map of Earth. This map showed the various regions of the planet and the impact of human development on the galaxy. At the farthest corner of the room, a long table where the Zargonian leaders were gathered. Screens on the table were filled with high-resolution data showing significant moments in human history, scientific achievements, and galactic impacts. The faces of the leaders were solemnly illuminated by the screen's dim light. In the background, silent assistants continued to update the data according to the leaders' instructions. Dr. Kthar stood in the center of the room at a high-tech presentation area. With his long, slender fingers, he touched a control panel to activate the hologram. The hologram detailed human historical developments and the latest technological advancements. Dr. Kthar turned to the leaders and said, "In recent years, we have observed that humanity is rising rapidly on the galactic stage. Their scientific and technological advancements have had a significant impact not only on their own planet but also across the galaxy. On the screen, developments in various regions of Earth, discoveries in scientists' laboratories, and advancements in space research flashed by. Humanity's contributions to galactic research had caught the leaders' attention. Dr. Kthar moved his fingers to bring up the next holographic image. The image displayed complex molecular structures representing a series of deadly viruses. "This is a deadly virus we have developed to test humans and identify their weaknesses. Our plan is to send this virus to Earth and observe how they cope. This will help us identify their vulnerabilities and adjust our galactic strategies accordingly." One of the leaders, watching the screen attentively, said, "If this virus tests human resilience and we observe how they cope, we can identify their weaknesses. This information will be critical for our future galactic strategies." Another leader, thoughtfully in the silence of the room, added, "If this plan succeeds, we could gain valuable information about our new rivals. However, it may be risky to proceed without knowing how humans will respond to this virus." As the meeting progressed, the discussion among the leaders intensified. Some leaders debated the risks and ethical dimensions of the plan, while others emphasized its strategic importance. In the corner of the room, a screen displayed graphs showing how the virus spread in a laboratory environment and how it affected the human body. Finally, Dr. Kthar summarized the leaders' decision. "This virus will reveal human vulnerabilities and provide us with the necessary information for our galactic strategies. We will adjust our relations and strategic plans with humanity accordingly." The leaders nodded in agreement and accepted Dr. Kthar's proposal. At the end of the meeting, the Zargonian leaders' faces were marked by determination and strategic precision. The silence within the spacecraft reflected the seriousness and importance of this plan. The plan would be implemented, and the Zargonians would begin to await the results of this deadly test on humanity. Admiral Zarnak decided to secretly send the deadly virus to Earth. The spread of the virus and how humanity would respond to this threat would be a significant test for the Zargonians. They hoped to expose humanity's weaknesses and vulnerabilities in this crisis. If humans failed to handle the virus, it would be much easier for the Zargonians to eliminate them completely. However, if humanity overcame this challenge, the Zargonians would have to study them more closely to understand their true strengths and potentials. This deadly plan was a reflection of the Zargonians' strategic genius. They were determined to use every means necessary to maintain control of the galaxy. As the first light of the day touched the cities on Earth, the screens were filled with rapidly changing news footage. The news center had become the epicenter of panic and chaos. The screens were filled with images showing the effects and global spread of the virus. Cameras focused on the worried face of news anchor Janet Roberts. Janet took a deep breath and spoke with a tense yet calm tone. Behind her, a large screen displayed the points of virus spread and statistics on a world map marked with colorful indicators. "A global emergency has been declared," Janet said, her voice trembling. "The deadly virus affecting millions has caused widespread panic around the world." In an emergency room of a hospital, doctors and nurses rushed about under red and blue lights. Healthcare workers, wearing protective masks and suits that completely covered their faces, were admitting patients. On the walls of the room, graphs and alerts on the monitors continuously changed. In an area with concentrated cameras, a doctor, behind fogged-up glasses, was giving instructions to the emergency staff. A nurse, walking briskly through the emergency room, shouted, "Get the oxygen tanks and medications here immediately." Other nurses quickly brought various equipment, working to speed up the treatment process for the patients. Camera angles reflected the chaos in city centers. Markets and pharmacies were packed with crowds emptying the shelves. People, in a panic, grabbed products while some argued with security guards trying to control the chaos. Screams echoed from the high ceilings of shopping malls. A group, pushing towards the market's entrance, was met with a security guard on the loudspeaker announcing, "Calm down. Enter one by one." However, under the influence of panic, people were crashing into each other, trying to grab products. Another camera angle focused on the government's emergency meeting. A government official, with a serious expression, stood in front of cameras around a large table. On the table were various maps, charts, and notes on vaccine production. "An emergency has been declared nationwide to control the spread of the virus," the official said, his voice firm and authoritative. "Everyone must stay at home, adhere to social distancing rules, and follow health instructions." On social media platforms, users were posting about the virus, sharing calls for help and personal stories. Videos were rapidly spreading with messages like, "Stay home, stay safe," showing anxious families organizing aid through social media. In one video, a family, waving at the camera from behind closed windows, said, "Everyone needs to prioritize safety during this difficult time." Hospitals and healthcare facilities quickly filled up. Governments declared emergencies, and international travel was halted. As people were quarantined in their homes, the streets emptied and cities turned into ghost towns. As the media reported the devastating effects of the outbreak and the rising death toll each day, public fear and desperation grew even stronger. In the lightless void of space, a massive Zargonian spacecraft silently drifted, and within its observation room, a tense atmosphere prevailed. The walls of the room were surrounded by a wide area filled with technology. Large screens and holographic projections displayed real-time developments on Earth. The screens detailed images of cities, crowded hospitals, and the chaos in the streets. Dr. Kthar stood in front of a high-tech control panel in the center of the room. With his long, slender fingers, he carefully analyzed the data while controlling the screens. Next to him, other members of the Zargonian observation team were similarly watching the developments on the screens. As the leader of the team, Dr. Kthar was explaining their decisions. The spread of the virus on Earth has been much faster than we anticipated. We can see that people are moving in a state of panic, he said. There was a distinct coldness and careful tone in his voice. To Dr. Kthar's right, another Zargonian scientist named Lix was closely observing the screen. The situation in hospitals is critical. The healthcare staff's efforts to cope with the influx of patients are visibly strained, Lix said. Lix's voice reflected the meticulous analysis of the data. In a small corner, a young Zargonian researcher named Zira was examining social media posts on the screen. We see that people are organizing aid and making emergency calls on social media. This shows their spirit of solidarity in times of crisis, she commented. Zira's voice carried a mix of astonishment and admiration. After listening to Lix and Zira's comments, Dr. Kthar took a deep breath and turned to the other team members in the room. Monitoring the virus spread will help us understand how people are reacting to this crisis. However, predicting the exact outcomes of such a widespread situation is challenging, he said. Dr. Kthar's voice reflected the thoughts of a strategist. Another Zargonian, an elderly scientist named Therrell, said thoughtfully, "This level of chaos and panic will test people's scientific and social organizational abilities. The data we gather will help us understand how humans react to such crises." Therrell's voice carried the reflection of experience and knowledge. The images on the screens revealed the depth of the crisis across the world. The faces of the Zargonian observers were illuminated with both attentive and thoughtful expressions. Dr. Kthar and his team were analyzing the data they had while also discussing the scenes they were observing. They were eager to see if their plan was successful. They were curious about how humans would cope with this deadly threat and whether they could uncover their vulnerabilities. However, humanity was preparing to face one of its greatest challenges. Scientists and doctors around the world engaged in an intense battle to halt the virus's spread. In a spacious conference hall, scientists from around the globe gathered anxiously and concentratively. In the high-ceilinged, modern-designed room, a large screen displayed the virus's spread map and analysis results. Various scientific equipment and notebooks were scattered around the tables. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood in the center of the room. Her face was filled with determination, and her eyes shone with noticeable fatigue. Dr. Rodriguez spoke rapidly with her team as she looked at the graphics and data-filled screens. The source of the virus is unclear, but the data we have shows its ability to spread rapidly. Our focus right now should be on analyzing the virus's genetic structure and developing a vaccine, Dr. Rodriguez said, her voice firm and authoritative. At the table next to Dr. Rodriguez, Professor Alan Wills, an experienced virologist, examined samples carefully under a microscope. Holding a pipette in one hand and a small tube in the other, he said, "Our detailed analyses show that the virus has a highly sophisticated structure. Variations in its genetic makeup allow it to attack various cell types. This requires us to develop a specialized solution to counter it." In another corner of the room, Dr. Priya Singh, a young epidemiologist, was taking notes rapidly. "First and foremost, we need to understand how the virus is spreading," she said. "Using this data, we can identify which communities and regions are most affected. Additionally, we need field studies to understand the transmission routes of the disease." Dr. Rodriguez turned to her team, saying, "The data we have obtained and everything we do in this emergency situation are of critical importance. We need to collaborate across different scientific disciplines to control this virus. Dr. Rodriguez's face reflected a distinct sense of determination and responsibility. Other scientists in the room were also actively exchanging ideas. One group was discussing laboratory tests and field research. Once the laboratory tests are completed, we need to move quickly into the vaccine development process, said Dr. Emily Forster, another virologist. Our goal is to find a broad-spectrum solution that is effective against all variants of the virus. International health organizations, universities, biotechnology firms, and independent research laboratories began collaborating to decipher the virus's genetic makeup and develop a treatment or vaccine. Researchers working around the clock in laboratories were trying to understand the virus's rapid mutation capability and how it attacks human cells. As health systems neared collapse, hospitals and clinics struggled with shortages of medical supplies and personnel. However, in this crisis moment, despair gave way to determination. People had learned from past challenges and had learned to fight in solidarity. Doctors and nurses worked tirelessly, risking their lives day and night. Retired health workers volunteered to return to duty, and many people, even those without medical training, received emergency training and began helping in hospitals. Every segment of society contributed to the fight against the pandemic. Engineers rapidly restructured factories to produce ventilators and protective equipment. Technology companies developed applications to track the spread of the virus and conduct contact tracing. Universities and research centers shared their knowledge and resources, creating a global research network. The media took on a significant responsibility to inform the public and disseminate reliable information. Scientists constantly made statements to provide accurate information and combat misinformation. This effort aimed to prevent the spread of false information and panic. The spirit of solidarity and cooperation was evident across all segments of society. Neighbors helped each other. Food banks and aid organizations supported those in need. People did their part by staying at home and adhering to social distancing rules to prevent the spread of the virus. During this challenging period, humanity fought against their greatest enemy, the virus, with unity and togetherness. Determination and solidarity replaced despair, demonstrating once again what humanity can achieve by working together even in the toughest of times. Dr. Elena Rodriguez was a virologist on the front lines of this battle. A respected figure in the medical world, Dr. Rodriguez had extensive experience due to her previous work on infectious diseases. This experience made her and her team the most suitable candidates for combating the Zargonian virus. Dr. Rodriguez and her team worked day and night to decode the virus's genetic structure and develop an effective vaccine. In her laboratory, a team of top scientists, biologists, chemists, and genetic engineers from around the world was present. Each expert in their field collaborated intensely to examine every aspect of the virus and identify its weaknesses. The team focused on different vaccination techniques and treatment methods, considering the virus's rapid mutation capability. Dr. Rodriguez effectively utilized each member's expertise and ensured that the team worked collaboratively. The laboratory doors opened swiftly as Dr. Rodriguez entered. Her white lab coat, tightly bound hair, and determined gaze drew attention in the room. Team members gathered around the large table with various devices, and computers immediately stopped working and turned to her. "All right, team," said Dr. Rodriguez with a slight smile. "Today, we will take the final steps to decode the virus's cell entry mechanism. We need everyone's expertise." Genetic engineer Sarah, stepping away from the microscope, spoke up. "Elena, I analyzed the virus's spike proteins and noticed something interesting. These proteins use a specific receptor when binding to human cells." Dr. Rodriguez walked over to Sarah and looked through the microscope. "Great discovery, Sarah. So, How can we inhibit this interaction with the receptor? From the other side of the laboratory, bioinformatics specialist Mark spoke while looking at his computer screen. Based on Sarah's findings, I've screened potential inhibitor molecules. Some of them seem to have properties that could prevent the virus from binding. Dr. Rodriguez approached Mark's screen. Great job, Mark. How do we test these molecules? Virologist Dr. James walked over carrying a tray filled with test tubes. We can test the molecules Mark suggested on the virus in the laboratory setting. I've already prepared a few. We can start the experiments now. Dr. Rodriguez nodded at James's tray. Excellent. Sarah, Mark, and James, start testing these molecules immediately. Let's evaluate the results quickly. Chemist Rachel joined them with a few notes in hand. Dr. Rodriguez, I've also analyzed the chemical structures of these inhibitors and believe we could develop a more effective compound. However, I'll need some more time and specific reagents for that. Dr. Rodriguez gave Rachel a reassuring look. I'll make sure to provide all the necessary materials, Rachel. Now, everyone get back to work. Together, we can defeat this virus. As the team members quickly returned to their tasks, the laboratory became a hive of activity. Dr. Rodriguez paid individual attention to each specialist, considering their needs and suggestions. The atmosphere in the lab reflected how determined everyone was to achieve the common goal. After hours of intense work, Dr. Rodriguez and her team succeeded in discovering an inhibitor that blocked the virus's binding mechanism. This breakthrough was a crucial step toward developing their vaccine. Everyone looked at each other, took a deep breath, and a glimmer of hope appeared on their faces. Here it is, Dr. Rodriguez said proudly, looking at her team. We've done it together. Now it's time to develop this vaccine and save the world. The lab was filled with applause as the team members hugged each other. Their tired but happy faces showed that this victory was the result of a collective effort. Dr. Rodriguez stood beside her team, knowing that their determination and collaboration had enabled them to overcome this challenge. After months of arduous work, countless long nights in the laboratory, and thousands of experiments, Dr. Rodriguez and her team announced that they had developed a vaccine capable of neutralizing the virus. This discovery became a beacon of hope for humanity. The vaccine contained a special protein that blocked the virus's ability to bind to cells and boosted the immune system. As a result, the virus could be neutralized before it spread throughout the body. A majestic spaceship silently drifted through the depths of cosmic space. Its metallic surface reflected the light of a lost star in the galaxy's depths. Inside, Zargonian leaders gathered around a series of holographic screens. Their faces, visible behind their yellowish armor, were etched with distinct concern and frustration. Before them were reports and data on humanity's unexpected victory. "We never expected they would handle this virus so quickly," said one of the Zargonian leaders, his voice tinged with deep unease. "Human resistance has thwarted our plans. Now, we need to learn how they achieved this success." The leaders appointed Dr. Kthar, one of the most esteemed scientists among the Zargonians. Dr. Kthar walked into the spaceship's command center, surveying the team members with his deep green eyes. His long, slender form made him both impressive and enigmatic. On his head, he wore a detailed pair of glasses that constantly scanned various data. "Dr. Kthar," said a leader, "we have assigned you to this mission. You will send a research team to Earth to understand how they achieved this success. You must observe them and their work secretly." Dr. Kthar bowed his head in a respectful manner. "Understood. The team is prepared. We will initiate the infiltration operation to Earth." In the planning room of the spaceship, Dr. Kthar and his team made the final preparations for a covert landing on Earth. A holographic screen displayed a detailed map of the Earth's surface. Around the edges of the screen were various analyses and regional data. Dr. Kthar set a series of coordinates and directed his team. Maintaining secrecy is our highest priority. We will examine all of humanity's technological and scientific processes. We will observe every move and gather information, Dr. Kthar said to his team with a determined voice. We will choose the most opportune time and place to execute the plan. Dr. Kthar put on his glasses and pressed a button to activate the ship's invisibility shield. The team prepared to infiltrate Earth's atmosphere with perfect coordination. The ship's exterior was coated with a glass-like sheen, making it nearly invisible as it glided through the atmosphere. As they approached the Earth's surface, the team began to descend silently, gliding through the air. The descent created a striking image against the darkness, illuminated by the glow of stars and city lights, which the Zargonians watched intently. The team landed in a secluded area and infiltrated the Earth's scientific centers and healthcare facilities. After landing, the Zargonian team started to move, aiming to infiltrate human laboratories and examine the workspaces of scientists. Dr. Kthar carefully and quietly scanned the surroundings to gather the necessary data for analysis. With the development of the vaccine, the production process quickly commenced. Pharmaceutical factories worldwide mobilized for the mass production of the vaccine. Governments, health organizations, and the private sector collaborated to ensure the vaccines were distributed quickly and safely. Transportation and logistics networks were reorganized to ensure the vaccine reached even the most remote corners of the world. Vaccination campaigns were swiftly launched, and people formed long queues at designated vaccination centers. Doctors, nurses, and volunteers worked tirelessly around the clock to vaccinate millions of people. Through television and social media, the public was informed about the importance and safety of the vaccine. Celebrities and community leaders supported the campaigns, encouraging people to get vaccinated. During this process, Dr. Rodriguez and her team etched their names in human history with golden letters. Their determination and dedication enabled humanity to overcome a deadly threat once again. As the virus was swiftly neutralized, life around the world gradually began to return to normal. This victory showcased once more what humanity could achieve through solidarity and cooperation. Dr. Rodriguez, along with her team, stood at the forefront of this battle, providing hope and courage to humanity. Dr. Kthar and his team, during their time on Earth, were amazed by the scientific capabilities and determination of humans. The Zargonians had chosen a dark and silent night for their covert landing on Earth. Their spacecraft, equipped with invisibility shields, was laden with high technology. Upon touching down on Earth's surface, Dr. Kthar and his team began to execute a carefully planned strategy. Each member was a trained and experienced scientist, prepared to infiltrate Earth's scientific centers and laboratories. Dr. Kthar and his team noticed that the scientists were working meticulously in a brightly lit environment. Using the screen in his goggles, Dr. Kthar observed the scientists conducting complex experiments to decipher the genetic structure of the virus. Dr. Kthar saw a scientist carefully noting down new data about the virus and meticulously preparing the vaccine formula. The precision in every movement of the scientists impressed the Zargonians. This process is quite complex, and it's truly impressive that humans have reached this stage in such a short time, thought Dr. Kthar. In another laboratory, Dr. Kthar and his team infiltrated a healthcare center. Here, they observed doctors working tirelessly to treat patients. A doctor, working with patience and determination during a critical treatment process, was supported by a nurse assisting a patient's family. The dedication of the doctors and nurses deeply impressed the Zargonian team. The hope in the patient's eyes and the professionalism of the doctors left a profound impact on Dr. Kthar's team. Among the team members, there were expressions of admiration and respect in their eyes. Turning to his team with a slight smile, Dr. Kthar said, "Humans are truly impressive in their fight, pushing the boundaries of science with determination." After their observations, Dr. Kthar and his team began preparations for their return. The dedication and resilience of humans to science profoundly influenced the Zargonians' thinking and plans. This experience showed Dr. Kthar and his team how humanity faced challenges and advanced their scientific capabilities. It caused the Zargonians to view the people of Earth in a light they had never seen before. Dr. Kthar sat in the thin, quiet control room of the Zargonian spacecraft, illuminated by blue lights around a table. The screen in his goggles detailed the data and observations collected from Earth. The screen vividly displayed the meticulous work of human scientists and the selfless moments in healthcare centers. Deep in thought, Dr. Kthar was preparing his report. Carefully placing his fingers on the keyboard, Dr. Kthar began to write his report. His eyes scanned the data on the screen, occasionally nodding and taking deep breaths. In the corner of the screen, images from laboratories and healthcare centers continuously scrolled. These data say a lot about humans' scientific capabilities and determination, Dr. Kthar muttered to himself. Our observations show that the people of this planet demonstrate extraordinary resilience in their fight against the virus. The other members of the team stood silently beside Dr. Kthar, waiting anxiously and curiously for the results of the report. Deep in thought, Dr. Kthar began to speak aloud. "This success is a testament to their scientific capabilities and resilience in times of crisis," he said. "Humans have managed to neutralize the virus quickly and have shown extraordinary cooperation to achieve this." One team member, listening attentively, said, "This should be a great lesson for us Zargonians. The humans' resilience and dedication to scientific knowledge show that we should not underestimate them." As Dr. Kthar wrote the final part of his report, his thoughts grew even more intense. In conclusion, it will be best not to interfere further with this planet. After seeing how humans achieved this success and revealed their inner strength, it is most sensible to leave them in peace. Finishing the report, Dr. Kthar took a deep breath. The anxiety on his face was replaced with a slight feeling of satisfaction. He took one last look at the screen and completed the report. This report will show Zargonian leaders how capable and determined humans are in protecting their planet. What we need to do here is leave this planet as it is and ensure they remain in peace. After completing his report, Dr. Kthar turned to his team. "Friends, our observations and findings have allowed us to understand humans more deeply. Leaving this planet in peace is our best option." The team members nodded and agreed, supporting Dr. Kthar's decision. The silence inside the spaceship reflected the team members' understanding of the decision's seriousness and importance. Dr. Kthar securely stored his report and took a deep breath before initiating the spacecraft's movement. This decision marked the Zargonians' final choice not to intervene on Earth and open the doors to a peaceful future. In the quiet of the night, only a few dim lights were on in the large conference room of the Zargonian spaceship. In the center of the room was a large holographic projection showing Earth's surface and ongoing developments. The walls of the room were covered with various space maps and strategic plans. After examining these plans in detail, the Zargonian leaders fell into deep thought. Standing before the leaders, Dr. Kthar presented images on a hologram, showcasing human achievements and peaceful solutions on Earth. The screen displayed scenes of human scientists and doctors exemplifying peaceful approaches and solidarity during crises. Each frame highlighted the humans' dedication to science and their responses to challenges. With a serious expression, Dr. Kthar began, "As you can see, the human scientific capabilities and determination in times of crisis demonstrate that direct conflict would be futile. They have shown extraordinary resilience in dealing with difficulties. This indicates that a direct conflict would not be beneficial for us. One of the leaders, standing in the dark corner of the spaceship, took a deep breath. If we do not approach this planet peacefully, our relations with the humans may deteriorate further. The humans have impressed not only with their dedication to science, but also with their peaceful approaches. Another leader, watching the screen carefully, added, "Given this data, it is clear that direct conflict would be of no benefit to us. Engaging in direct conflict with humans would not only waste our resources and time, but could also harm us. Finding a peaceful path will make our presence and relations on this planet more sustainable." The screen displayed detailed images of humans seeking solutions and achieving scientific successes during various crisis scenarios. In one image, a doctor's dedication to treating patients was evident. In another, a scientist's meticulous work in the laboratory was closely observed. Each image showcased the solidarity and solution-oriented approaches the humans demonstrated during these processes. Turning to the leaders in the meeting room, Dr. Kthar said, "In light of this information, adopting a peaceful approach rather than direct conflict will be our best option. We have observed how humans have overcome the challenges they faced, and how they have utilized the power of science. It makes the most sense for us to leave this planet as it is, and ensure they continue in peace." The leaders nodded and agreed, supporting Dr. Kthar's proposal. The atmosphere in the room was filled with a sense of relief and satisfaction brought by the peaceful solution. A slight smile appeared on the faces of the Zargonian leaders, indicating that not intervening on Earth was the right decision. At the end of the meeting, the leaders decided to establish peaceful relations and support human scientific advancements in the future. The Zargonians, having learned a great lesson from their experience on Earth, began to seek a peaceful path and completely abandoned the idea of intervening on Earth. The silence in the room reflected the seriousness and importance of this new decision. I hope you had a good time. If you liked my story, do not forget to comment and subscribe to my channel. Goodbye. See you in the next story.